Hi there, I'm Yen, and like most of you, I am sheltering in place. So I've been getting a couple emails from parents because they're discovering very quickly that teaching from home is not exactly easy. So in this video, I'm going to share with you a motivational theory that's going to make teaching your kids or motivating your kids a lot easier. So welcome to my channel. Welcome to That's Why. Let's get started. First, let me share a little bit of learning theory with you, since I'm a learning theorist and that's what I do. When we look at deep learning, like deep, meaningful learning, it's made from two parts: motivation and interaction. Motivation is what drives someone to do a task, and it's why someone persists in a task. Interaction is how we take in information, and as you see here, there are four main ways that we interact with things when we learn. In this video, I'm going to focus on one aspect of motivation, but I'll talk about the other stuff in my next videos. Right now, what I need you to get out of this page is that learning is both emotional and active. Let me explain. A large part of learning has nothing to do with what is being learned. Just because you've got great content, a great program, or a fantastic curriculum, it doesn't necessarily mean that a child will learn it. For example, you can have two classes that teach exactly the same content, the same assignments, homework, books, etc. But one may be perceived as better than another based on the instructor. And I'm sure we've had our share of good instructors and bad instructors. That perception is based on how you related to the instructor and how the instructor had you interact with the content. That relationship and that interaction gave you either positive or negative emotions. Those emotions were probably linked to how well you learned in that class. Learning is also affected by how you feel about the subject, about the class, about the instructor, and about what you were doing. It's even affected by how you feel on certain days. The point I'm making is that children learn differently at school and at home. At home, maybe your child won't listen, or they'll sit for 2 minutes before they feel hungry, or they need to take a bathroom break, or they're distracted. Why is it so difficult to teach your child? Well, for one, it's because of the emotional relationship you have with your child. You are your child's guardian, so your child doesn't associate you as their teacher. Because that connection to you is different, how your child learns at home needs to be different from school. I'm here to help you with the little tweaks you need to motivate your child to learn from home, and how you can create interactions that nurture learning. When you do that, you can strengthen that relationship you already have with your child, and that is going to create some wonderful memories of this special time that you have together. So let's start with understanding motivation. I'm defining motivation as the drive, desire, and action that one takes to continue and persist in pursuing a goal or task. Now, there's two kinds of motivation: extrinsic and intrinsic. Most of us are familiar with extrinsic motivation because it's the easiest one to do. Extrinsic motivation drives someone to do something because they'll be rewarded for doing it. I've seen parents who motivate their children to behave properly by giving them a cookie. Or you see kids excel on tests because they get prizes from the teacher. While extrinsic motivation may be easy to do, it only lasts for as long as there is a reward. Once the reward is gone, the motivation is gone too. So what ends up happening is that you have to constantly give new rewards in order to motivate your child. That can become exhausting and frustrating for both of you. A better way to get your child to do something is by developing intrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation comes from self-satisfaction, joy, and/or pleasure in doing the job or task. Examples of external motivation include wanting to help someone else because it makes you feel good, or wanting to do a job because you get a sense of pride in the accomplishment. Intrinsic motivation is also a highly desired soft skill because employers want internally motivated people. Intrinsic motivation is harder to build in students. However, once students have intrinsic motivation, it makes learning and accomplishing goals a lot easier because the reward is finding the joy in doing the work. I'm going to help you build internal motivation with a handy little motivational theory called self-determination theory, or SDT. In SDT, internal motivation and the desire to persist comes from 3 basic needs: competence, relatedness, and autonomy. When these 3 needs are met, a person will feel internally motivated to accomplish their goals. As adults, we can build this motivation in our children by supporting your child's competence, relatedness, and autonomy. Let me briefly explain what each of these things are. Then, I'm going to focus on the aspect of autonomy and how you can use it to internally motivate your child. Competence is having the background knowledge and skill needed to accomplish a task. Competence has a lot to do with confidence, as you can imagine. So why is competence important? Well, it determines how hard we try. If we feel that we don't have the knowledge or skills to do a task, we won't even try. A perceived lack of confidence can lead to helplessness and frustration. In another video, I'll show you how you can nurture competence and confidence in your child. Relatedness deals with a person's sense of belonging and their sense of being supported. This is the social aspect of motivation, and it's huge. In other words, relatedness is about one's relationships and how those relationships support or don't support that person in different tasks. So why is relatedness important? Having someone who believes in you helps you persist. Oftentimes, it's because you don't want to disappoint that person, or you feel a connection to that person, and because they believe you can do it, you do it because of their encouragement and support. Autonomy is when a person has opportunities to decide and or make choices for themselves. Autonomous students have choices, and they have the freedom to decide what choices they want to make. Now, giving children choices is tricky. I hear parents who give children choices like, you have a choice of going to bed or staying up. And then they expect their child to go to bed since that's the right thing to do. But when the kid stays up, the parent becomes disappointed or even punishes the child for choosing the wrong thing. If there is a right or wrong choice, you're not truly giving them choices. You're giving them a pop quiz. And that's not autonomy. You're going to build resentment in your child and probably in yourself too. When you give children choices, they are truly choices. They're choices that you, the adult, would be happy with regardless of whether your child decides on A, B, or C. For example, I give my sons choices on their chores. Do you want to do the dishes or the vacuum? Do you want to clean your room or clean the basement? I mentioned this in my videos on distance learning that teachers should give their students choices on how they want to do an assignment. You can give your child a choice of whether they want to make a paper airplane, watch a video on paper airplanes, or color a page about paper airplanes. The choice could even be giving your child the autonomy to decide what kind of airplane they want to make, rather than directing them to make just a single design. Maybe the choice is either making a digital story or creating a poster. Do they want to do math first or science? Do they want to watch a YouTube of someone reading a book? Or do they want to read a story to their teddy bear? So why is autonomy important? When we make a choice in something, we're putting forth an effort. We are making an investment in the outcome of whatever happens. A choice is a say in the matter. And when we say something, we're owning a part of whatever is happening, be it the consequence or the reward. By giving someone the ability to make a choice, you're giving them the freedom to decide. And the freedom to do what we want is a more powerful motivator than when someone tells us what to do or decides for us. Kids and some adults need help evaluating their choices before making decisions. When you see your student hesitating, give them a list of pros and cons to the choices. Or even better, help your child come up with pros and cons for each choice. This really helps students make thoughtful decisions about their actions. As a complement to that, when your child finally makes that decision, let them experience the benefits and the consequences. So often, I see parents who are so afraid that their child will make a mistake that they shield their child from failures or even from experiences. The problem with this is that the child will never know how to recover from failure when it happens to them as adults. You help them learn perseverance by letting them feel the consequences for their actions and guide them on their next steps. For example, my son joined an engineering competition and made very little effort to help his team. Then when it came time to compete, he received absolutely no recognition. That experience stung for him, but it gave him a valuable lesson in being a team member. I'd much rather see that he experiences this at 11 than when he does this in a job and gets fired for it. As you watch this video, think about the kinds of neutral choices you can give to your child. For instance, the choice between having 2 or 3 different kinds of fruits, or playing one game over another, or deciding on what they want to wear or learn. There is one more thing I suggest you add to your menu of choices, and that is to give your child the choice to play. Playing is a powerful form of learning. According to MIT professor Mitchell Resnick, play nurtures experimentation, risk-taking, trying new things, and testing boundaries. Giving your child opportunities to play and explore creatively may be more important than counting hours as they complete worksheets over a series of disconnected facts. Play is a way for children to interact with the world on their terms. With play, they get complete autonomy because they get to decide on the rules, on what they want to do, and on what they can imagine and create. This advice is for your children and for you as well. Find time in your day to play, because for just a little bit, play will help you stay in the present moment, and it can give you a break from worrying too much about the future. When you play, you can be in control, especially right now when most things are out of our control. Play and get in touch with that inner child of yours again. Your children will thank you for it. Speaking of thanks, I want to give a shout out to my patrons who have generously supported me in the making of this video. Thank you! Would you like to see your name in one of my videos? Please consider being a patron by visiting my Patreon page. Your donation helps support the work I create, which in turn helps others. You can find my Patreon link in the description below. In this video, I talked about one aspect of motivation, which is autonomy, and how giving children a choice can help with internal motivation. In my next videos, I'll talk about how nurturing competence and relatedness help reinforce this internal motivation, and together help your child learn from home. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned for my next videos, and be safe and healthy out there. See you soon. Bye now.